Hey, so today I thought I'd go ahead and do a video on this cover or shelter that I made for my boat for the winter. I'm going to go ahead and call it the Bass-O-Matic Igloo 5000. I guess because I call my boat the Bass-O-Matic 5000. But anyway, I saw a similar product on the internet and they were selling it for like $400 or something like that. And I figured, I mean, I can make that thing probably for half the cost or a little over half the cost. So that's what I went ahead and did. Real quick, I'm going to go over most of the materials that I used to make this that you'll see throughout the video. The first thing is I used 1.25" PVC pipe and related fittings for the structural frame for this thing. I also used some PVC cement in various locations. I bought these things, I just call them metal conduit view brackets. I'm not really sure what the technical term is for them. I know you can find them in the Home Depot or Lowe's in the electrical section, and basically they're used for holding metal conduit against like concrete walls or something like that. I bought an 8-piece 15-foot ratchet strap set from Harbor Freight. I also bought, if I can get it here, this half-inch grommet set. It's found where the tarps are. I bought that from Harbor Freight, and you'll see why I needed that later in the video. I know it's a windy day here. Everything's trying to blow away on me. I bought a 19 by 29 foot heavy duty reflective tarp from Harbor Freight as well. And I based the tarp size based on the length of my boat, which is 16 feet, and then took into consideration the dimensions of the tarp frame, which I'll explain that later in the video. And that's how I came up with that as being the size tarp I needed. You'll need some 1x8 or 1x10 common boards. I had a bunch of scrap wood around, so I was just able to use that. You'll see later in the video that's basically used as a flat base for the structure, parts of the structure to sit flat against the boat floor. I bought 5/16 eyelets with that come with a nut, and those I think were about like 4 inches long, maybe 3.5 inches. I'm not sure. Some thin rope, nylon rope or string, and that's used just to further secure the tarp, as you'll see later in the video. And finally, the last thing I bought was this is a swimming pool cover cable and winch. People use it for their above ground swimming pools, but I'm using it to securely hold the tarp against my boat. So that's pretty much it. The rest of this video, I'll be going through the various steps of putting this thing together, and you know, showing you different features of it and stuff as it gets put together. All right, so here we are at the fabled Bass-O-Matic 5000, the bass fishing boat that hardly any bass are ever caught from, but it's got a catchy name at least. And you can see right now, it's also got the frame up for the Bass-O-Matic Igloo 5000, and it's made out of, like I said, it's made out of 1.25 inch PVC piping, and in select places there's some PVC cement has been applied, and those are basically right down here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so there's 5 of these poles that go from front to back of the boat that are like the base of the frame. And each of those sits on these 1x8 or 1x10 boards. I can't remember which one they are. And as you can see, there's those metal U brackets I was talking about that basically hold that PVC T-piece to the board, just to make it a little more stable. It's got a flatter surface. So there's a couple, small pieces of PVC pipe on either side just to make the T connector a little longer. Those are glued in, so that's where I used glue. I think I may have used it up top there too, where the vertical pole piece meets. And then the other place I used it was on some of these, I guess you can call them like the rafters. Basically, this thing's going to be like a really steep roof, so hopefully no snow can accumulate on it and collapse the thing in. Or if it does start to accumulate, it'll be easy for me just to brush it off and it'll all slide off. But anyway, on these couplers right here, some of these pieces have them, some of them don't. Basically, I was just trying to get the most out of each 10-foot section of PVC pipe that I could. So these are PVC cemented together. So that's the only places I used it. Up top there, where all those different connections are, this year they are just in there just from the tightness and friction of the connections themselves. I definitely didn't want to cement those together or cement too many of them together, just because this thing's going to be taken apart into a bunch of pieces in the spring, is going to be stored until next winter. But what I might do is next year in select spots I may toy around with putting some screws in there to hold it together a little bit better in certain points, but I'm not 100% sure about that at this point. Up top there, let me see if I can zoom in. So up top there, you can see, so I have 8 straps total to really hold this, secure this frame in place with these ratchet straps. So up top there, you can see those are the eye bolts that I was talking about. So I just, you drill a hole, 5/16 hole, and put them in there and tighten them with the nut that comes with them. So there's one here, and then there's an end piece. There's one going to the right side of the boat. This one has 2. Let me zoom out. This other middle one has 2. And then in the back, this one has one going to the back, and then one going to the left side. So between all of that, it really sturdies it up. Hopefully, it'll survive up to hurricane force winds. Who knows? The tarp might rip before that happens. But so in the back and in the front, you can see I just connected it to the trailer. And originally I was going to do that for these side pieces as well, just connect them to the trailer down here. But what I decided was that if I did that, that was probably gonna prevent me from being able to use that pull cable and winch to really ratchet the pull cover tight against the boat. So with my boat, with these Tracker Grizzlies, they come with what's called this VersaTrack system, which you can see there. Oh, by the way, never mind the trampoline in the background with all the pool floats. We use that in the summertime. Pretty much the trampoline is our pool float storage now for like when it gets really windy or a thunderstorm comes through, we just throw them in there. And we were too lazy this year to, I guess, take them out and deflate them and put them in storage. So if if they survive the winter, which it looks like some of them are already kind of deflated up pretty bad, then we'll just have our pool floats ready to go next year. So there's another genius idea on our part, maybe. Anyway, so getting back to the the straps and the Versatrack system. So if you look down here, what I did was, so you can make, I learned this making my, sorry to get off track here. I learned this making my holder for, this is the PVC pipe holder I use for my my Akaso. It's basically like a GoPro type camera that I use to shoot those rare occasions when I catch a fish out on the water. I learned that you can use a 1/4 inch carriage bolt to make your own Versatrack like connection, like stud, you know, instead of having to go and buy the expensive ones off the internet. So this is a 1/4 inch carriage bolt. It's actually 1 inch long because I wanted to use these 1/4 inch eye bolts to connect the strap down here. And the way I had to do that was I basically had to buy this coupler. This is a quarter 20 thread coupler to, you know, thread it halfway onto the carriage bolt that's secured against the Versatrack, and then screw in this eye bolt the remaining way. So all of these side pieces have this carriage bolt, and that's where the ratchet strap attaches to. And then, like I said, it attaches to the carriage bolt in the PVC pole up top there. All these blue stickers on here, you'll see I put, like, this is painter's tape, and I just wrote on it with a Sharpie. So I wrote various designations on there, so I know, like, when I take this thing apart and then next year I'm trying to put the thing back together, I'm gonna know, like, which pieces go where. So, like, I don't know, I just came up with my own coding system. I should probably write this down on paper before I forget it. But, like, so this one on this this rafter here, this is the first F1 front first rafter on the left side. And for me, the left side is like if I was sitting in the boat, you know, at the console, you know, driving. So, you know, when I pack this thing away next year, I have to put it out for winter again. Hopefully I'll know how to put it back together. I guess first things first, you know, before I even get to this point, I winterized my boat, and, you know, that entails winterizing the engine, which was, you know, stabilizing the fuel, which I've decided from now on I'm just going to use year-round stabilizer to begin with. Changing the oil in the oil filter, because this is a 4-stroke EFI. Changing the gear lube, you know, for the propeller gearing down there. And even though I'm storing it vertical, I don't know, the people at West Marine convinced me to run some antifreeze through it. So I ran, I think, like 2 gallons of antifreeze through the little port here that you use to flush it out anyway. So hopefully nothing in there will freeze if it does get cold this winter. I took in the gas tank used to be under here, the 6-gallon portable gas tank that's in storage in my shed. And I removed all 3 batteries, the starter battery from the back. And then up here in the bow storage, I took out the 2 12-volt batteries for the trolling motor. Unfortunately, I don't have a fancy model trolling motor where the motor actually detaches from the mount bracket, so it has to stay on here. I also removed both of my fish finders at the bow and at the console, and covered up the wires for those. I tucked them inside of the the fish finder weather covers, so hopefully they don't get any moisture or any kind of corrosion or anything in them. I guess we'll find out. You know, I guess as long as the moisture inside this thing stays low, they should be good to go. Oh, and then for my tackle storage, I took the tackle trays and put them inside inside some of my tackle bags, just in case I want to play around with the fishing tackle over the winter during the off season. And there was also some in the live well. I converted that live well into tackle storage as well, just because I don't ever plan on keeping any fish anyway. So why do I need a live well? So at this point, the frame is up and it's been secured in place. Basically, you know, there's a good amount of tension on these ratchet straps, and it really, you know, I'm trying to shake it now. It really gives it a sturdy base to sit on. So you just have to kind of start to ratchet, you know, these competing ratchet straps at each location one by one. Don't tighten them down too much, or else, you know, some of the pieces might come undone. But so putting this thing together, like trying to figure out, you know, I knew I wanted a really a steep pitch to this thing, to this tent, to this roof, to this Bass-O-Matic Igloo, whatever you want to call it. So I figured out that from the boat decking, like the casting decks, I wanted this thing to go up 5 feet. So it's 5 feet in height from the casting deck base up to the top there, where the peak of the roof will be. And then obviously I just filled in the difference for in the center of the boat where the floor, there's no casting deck. I figured out, I think it was like an additional 13 inches or something like that. So these poles obviously are 13 inches in addition to get it all up to the same height. And that ended up making each of these rafter pieces here 6 feet. So they're 6 feet and they just barely hang over the edge on each side. You don't want it to hang over too much, because remember, this tarp has to come and then be pulled tight underneath against the boat. So you know, I've got these guide bunks on the side here and stuff. So you know, it turned out that 6 feet was about the perfect length, which you know, these PVC sections of PVC pipe come in 10-foot sections at Home Depot. So, you know, for each one of those, I got one of these rafters, and then a couple of the additional ones I just did some of the couplers. They're mostly on the other side. So that's going to give me, if you look at from the back here, I mean, you know, that's going to give me a nice, good, steep pitch. So when rain and snow and stuff starts to fall on this thing, I mean, it's hopefully just all going to slide right off, even if we get like a blizzard. I had thought about, you know, just getting a regular boat cover for this thing, but you know, I thought, well, if I get a boat cover, that's probably going to end up being the winter where, you know, we get like a 2-foot snow or something in Maryland, and I don't want to have to deal with the cover collapsing in, or the snow, whatever, not, you know, or even the rainwater not draining off the thing properly. And I also temporarily thought about actually making, like, I would call it like a little boat port, almost like a smaller version of a carport that I would install, you know, in this area here. That would be just wide enough and just high enough for the boat to fit under. But for various reasons, I decided against doing that, at least for right now. So, you know, I was looking around for ideas on the internet, and I saw this product that I'm basically making my own version of right now. And yep, that's where we are. Decided to go ahead and make it myself. All right, so here we are at the tarp, and it's a partially unfolded tarp at this point, because, you know, with my luck, I end up having to work on it on a day where there's like a 10 to 20 per mile an hour wind. But, you know, that's the way it goes when you're rushing to, you know, get this thing covered up in time for the winter. And around here, you never know when the winter's going to show up. It'll be 7 degrees one day and 32 and snowing the next. So anyway, on a less windy day last week, I was able to spread this tarp out completely, so that it was, from my driveway all the way over, into the front side portion of my yard. And what you need to do to make sure that this thing's going to set centered on top of the igloo frame, basically you need to measure the center points on each far end of this tarp. So this thing was what, it's 19 feet wide, so 9.5 feet in from each end should be the center point of the tarp. And I marked that with I think I just used again, I used painter's tape. And then my boat is 16 feet in length, and this tarp is 29 feet in length. So 29 minus 16 is 13, divided by 2 is 6.5. So from that end center point on each end of this tarp, I measured in 6.5 feet and put another, piece of painter's tape. So that marks where the tarp should sit on the center point of, the top of the frame there, so that it would be centered on my 16-foot boat, and on each side it'll basically, on the front and the back, it'll have 6.5 feet extending over that can be secured. So with that done, I marked in 6.5 feet again, closer towards the edge of each side of the tarp, because between those two pieces of tape is where I need to install the additional grommets further in the tarp for that pull cover cable and winch. So that's where the point we're at here right now. So, well, we're in the process of putting them on. Well, first thing, this tarp from Harbor Freight, it comes with grommets around the perimeter of the tarp it looks like it's every 3 feet, and you can see that. In fact, this side here is what is supposed to be the far end. It's just folded over. So this will be on the other side. So here's one of those pieces of tape just marking where like the front or the back of the boat would be. So then what I did was, well, it's folded over, but basically you can see these holes. These holes are punched out where additional grommets are going to be installed here shortly. And I did them roughly, I don't know, like just 12 to 18 inches or something like that. For the length of that 16-foot length, that would be the part of the tarp that would be over top of the boat. So from the center of the tarp out to the edge is 9.5 feet. The slanted rafter things coming down on the side of the frame are 6 feet. So I figured an additional 2 feet would be plenty to tuck the tarp under the side of the boat and then secure it tightly with the pool cover strap and winch. So what I did was basically, as this thing blows away on me, oh, well, here we go. Back here. So basically I measured in from the edge 18 inches. It's 1.5 feet, so 9.5 feet minus 1.5 feet, that would give you 8 feet. And that's where I punched these holes. And now, and I need to do it on the opposite side as well. But probably what I'm going to do first here is I'm going to go ahead and punch down these rivets from that, or not rivets, what am I calling them rivets? Grommets from that grommet pack I talked about earlier in the video. So that's what we'll see next. All right, so here we are at the tarp that is desperately been trying to blow away on me. And we've got all of the grommets in now. And I was sitting here thinking about this before I actually started putting the grommets in. And I decided that I probably, having the grommets 7 feet from the center of the tarp versus 8 feet would probably work out better, and I'll show you why. So, getting back to the frame here, it's 6 feet down to here, and I really, once this tarp is pulled up tight against the boat with the the pool cover cable and winch, I really want the cover to be above this channel here, this rib, and that's so that it wouldn't be able to slide down past this, because with this boat, the further it's the widest at the top and it's the narrowest at the bottom. So it's 48 at the bottom, and I forget what the hell it is up here, 60 something. So if if for some reason the cable had a tendency to slide down, it would get stuck here. And of course, if I thought this out wrong and it could slide up the other way, it would get stuck here. So I really wanted the tarp cable to be somewhere in between here, not have anywhere to go. And I think this is 6 feet a foot. I'd probably put it right around in there somewhere, I think, when I pull it tight. So, and then the same thing on the front here. It'll probably go in through here somewhere or something like that. So getting back to the tarp, you can see on this one side here, let me see if I can hold it in place. So like here's the edge of the tarp, there's the grommets that are installed, factory when you get the tarp. If you come in 30 inches instead of the 18 inches, there's a grommet, there's another one, and so on and so on. And there's my blue tape right there. That would be like the front or the back end portion of the 16 feet where I did the grommets. Now on the other side here, here's the other side of the tarp. You can see, well, you can sort of see, originally, I measured in 18 inches and I punched those holes, and then I was like, before I actually put the grommets in, I was like, well shit, I want this to be 7 feet from the top center of the frame instead of 8 feet. So I had to go in an additional 12 inches. So you can see this side actually has 2 sets of grommets going all the way down. Well, you sort of can see it. You can see it here. So I measured in, and punched holes for 30 inches in from the edge of the tarp, so that would be like 7 feet from the center. And I did those grommets, and then the other ones I had originally punched that you saw earlier, I just went ahead and put I had enough grommets, so I went ahead and I put those grommets in, just for the heck of it, to make sure, that I wasn't giving the tarp any stress points where it could rip some. So, that's pretty much it for now. It's ready to go up on the frame and be secured. And I'm not saying that one person can't do it, because in my case, that's what's going to happen. But I really think putting the tarp on and securing it would be better to be a two-person job. So works out. Okay, so here we are. At this point, I initially have the tarp pulled over the boat, and I have it relatively lined up. Basically, to get this thing on here as a one-man job. On this one end here, you can see through two of these eyelets. I just hooked up my two tie-off ropes, and on the other side of the boat, I kind of got the tarp laid out enough and got the right side facing the right side and all that stuff, and just kind of sort of pulled it over. It was a little bit heavier and harder than I anticipated, but I managed to do it. One thing I did end up doing that I guess I hadn't really anticipated was, let me see if I can under here. So I'll just show you on the corner here. You can see for all these joints, I ended up duct taping them together, because I realized when I was pulling this tarp over this thing that it was just way heavier than I thought, and I wanted to make sure none of these joints came apart. But duct tape, that's fine. This is just the prototype. I still don't know what I'm going to do about it next year. I really don't think PVC is the way to go. That would be too permanent and not allow me to take this thing apart, really. And I'm a little wary of trying to screw the joints together. So, for now, the duct tape is working, and who knows, that might end up being a permanent solution. One other thing I did was, you can see here I've got 3 of these lovely pink holes. Well, you can't see the other one because it's underneath the hatch where the battery and the gas compartment usually are. But inside each of those, I bought these peppermint oil rodent balls. They're supposed to last for like 3 months, and they stink like shit. They're definitely, they don't smell like peppermint to me, so I can see why mice and rats and stuff like that wouldn't like them. But I decided to put those in here to deter any, especially mice, from getting in here and maybe trying to chew my wires. Someone had told me that they put mothballs underneath the cover in their boat, but I googled that, and mothballs, it says that they really aren't that effective. That's a bit of an old wives' tale, but I know these rodent balls are. I bought these things on Amazon, and they got good reviews, so hopefully that'll keep the mice out or scare any mice that are already in my boat. All right, so now that I got this thing up and I think I have it positioned fairly well, I know it's definitely centered from left to right. Let me zoom out here. I'm going to go ahead and start the process of putting the pool cover cable and winch around it to really secure it tight to the boat and tighten up the tarp so that it's like a nice little roof. So that's what we'll see next. So here it is, folks. Here's the completed Bass-O-Matic Igloo 5000. So here's where the cable winch tightens at, and I made sure I had plenty of excess line, and then I cut the rest off just so next year when I'm feeding this through, I'll make sure that I don't run out of cable. But the way, if any of you have an above ground pool, you're probably familiar with this, but the way the cable goes through is basically it goes in one grommet you know, and then out the other, and then it's on the outside, then in a grommet, and then so forth. And you do that all the way around, you know, when you're first stringing this up. One thing that I did do, that I had to do, was I had to add 2 on the front here, 1 on this side, and then 1 on this side right here. And that was just so that I could feed the cable through the closer to the front of the boat on the inside, you know, through the winch for the boat. And then, you know, I did the same thing in the back here. You probably can't see it. Where'd it go? So there's one there, and there's another one there. And that was so I could feed the cable against the back of the boat, you know, in between the motor and the boat. So, yep, that's it. We'll see how it holds up for the winter. Thanks for watching.